But now we know Mooch McConnell since then has said totally different. So we gotta wait and see. But what I am saying here, I believe Donald Trump will sign the bill that they put across his desk as long as it has provisions for a stimulus check in it for the people. That is his main focus right now. That is Stephen Mnuchin's main focus right now. That is everybody's main focus except a few Republican senators and Mooch McConnell. So if they can get agreement on that and get a bill to President Trump as fast as possible, he would sign it almost immediately. Because he knows if he says no on almost anything, it would be political suicide. So if they got a bill to Donald Trump today, which they could do if they tried, President Trump would sign it today. Let's just see what they do. This is Monday, so we know they didn't do much last week. Let's see what they do this week. Their track record is not good for getting stuff done. But I do believe Donald Trump will sign almost anything they put across his desk if this guy's checking. Y'all please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up and thumbs down. Please share my videos. It would help me tremendously. And just know I love you all, and please keep praying for my wife. She needs all the prayer she can get right now. That's the only thing that's going to put her through. I love you all. Till tomorrow. I'm going to keep trying to make these little videos as much as I can. Just know my main focus right now is my wife, and I know you understand that. And I want to thank y'all, all the emails that I've gotten from y'all. I've got cards and letters in the mail from y'all. I got all the comments here from y'all about my wife, and I've been telling my wife about it. And when she gets home, I'm going to let her read. I love you all. Until tomorrow. Ciao.
One of the country's greatest credit experts is going to reveal the inside credit secrets you need to turn your financial life around.
But I put in all my apps in like one day, and I got approved within the first day of doing that with over $100,000 of credit overall in one day.
These insider secrets are not generally known to the public, and this little book is filled with them.
It's the little book that can.
I got a $34,000 Chase card. I got a like $15,000 card from Amex. It ended up being a total of like $160,000, $170,000 within like a 3 or 4 week period. But in a single day, I got $100K. The first time I did everything, all that stuff like came as a result of credit secrets and then business credit secrets.
Page 147 tells you where you can apply for a Visa Signature Rewards card with a credit limit of up to $25,000, even if your credit score is in the low 500s.
Like everyone says in the community, I mean, just like read through it, read it again, read it again, read it again, you know, until it really sticks.
My dad used to come home drunk every day and hit me. My mom had passed away from giving birth to me, and my dad...
This is your second stimulus check update and your stimulus package update as of Monday, July 27th. And we have breaking news for you. The Republicans have now released their proposal for the next stimulus package. It is called the HEALS Act. This is short for the Health, Economic Assistance, Liability Protection, and Schools Act. Here are the major items within the HEALS Act. The second stimulus check. There is a second stimulus check. The stimulus check is for $1,200. Adult dependents will qualify in the second stimulus check for $500. The income levels will be the same as the previous stimulus package. You will receive the full amount of the second stimulus check if your income is under $75,000 and you're single, or if you are married and you have a combined income of under $150,000. If you are single and you have a dependent, you would receive the full amount of the second stimulus check if your income is under $112,500. If your income is over these amounts, your second stimulus check would be reduced. At a certain income level, your second stimulus check would be reduced to zero. The Democrats, they also support a second stimulus check, so this is definitely good news. Unemployment benefits. The Republican proposal calls for the extension of unemployment benefits for $200 a week for 2 months, so until the end of September. After those 2 months, the unemployment benefit calculation would be based on how much you were making. This method is called the income replacement method. The income replacement method would get your unemployment benefits up to 70% of your wages, up to $500 a week for the federal payment amounts. The Republicans, they do not want to extend unemployment benefits for the $600 a week because people were making more money being unemployed instead of working. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said until the end of September. After those 2 months, the unemployment benefit calculation would be based on how much you were making. This method is called the income replacement method. The income replacement method would get your unemployment benefits up to 70% of your wages, up to $500 a week for the federal payment amounts. The Republicans, they do not want to extend unemployment benefits for the $600 a week because people were making more money being unemployed instead of working. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said it just wouldn't be fair to use taxpayer dollars to pay more people, to pay more for people to sit at home than they would working. The Democrats, they prefer an extension of unemployment benefits for $600 a week. However, Democratic leaders, they have said that they are willing to compromise on unemployment benefits if they get better terms for the second stimulus check and if the Republicans compromise on other areas of the stimulus package. For the SBA PPP loan money, the proposal wants to give a second round of PPP loan money that will be more targeted towards small businesses. The self-employed and small business owners would qualify for a second round of SBA PPP loan money if you have 300 or less employees and your sales decline by 50% or more. It also modifies qualifying expenses for PPP loan money. This most likely will not face much opposition from the Democrats as the PPP program experiences heavy bipartisan support. Liability protection. When it comes to liability protection, the Republicans want to shield businesses, schools, and medical personnel from frivolous lawsuits. These institutions would only be liable if they conduct gross negligence or intentional misconduct by putting people at risk for COVID-19. The Democrats, they're already pushing back against this as they want these institutions to provide a higher degree of safety for the employees, students, and patients. Included in the Republican proposal are a variety of tax deductions and tax credits, such as increasing the tax deduction for meals for the self-employed and small businesses to 100% instead of 50%. There would be worker retention tax credits, deductions for the purchase of PPE to protect employees, tax deductions for testing, tax credits for cleaning, tax deductions for protective equipment, or measures taken to protect customers. The Republican proposal would also have incentives to American manufacturers to produce PPP at home instead of outsourcing that or manufacturing it overseas. There will be healthcare funding for diagnostics treatment, and the future vaccine. The theme of this Republican stimulus package proposal is promoting jobs, healthcare, and kids. You need to please remember that this is just the Republican side of the proposal. This needs to be negotiated between the Republicans and the Democrats to create the final terms of the next stimulus package. The Democrats, they already laid out what they want in their proposal in the HEROES Act, which was provided 2 months ago. I look forward to providing you all the details and the developments in the days ahead. Please subscribe, and I'll keep you updated. I'll save you some time, and I'll give you some advice, any advice when I think of it. Thank you so much, and please stay safe.
Hi, I'm Rex Moore with the Motley Fool in front of BMW's self-driving exhibit at CES in Las Vegas. Now, have you ever wondered how to invest in this revolutionary technology? Well, I'm going to give you the top 5 things that you might want to know about. And I hope you remember this short list, because I believe it's a...
What's up, you guys? This is your stimulus package update. This is your second stimulus check update, and actually your second stimulus check update from me today. I gave you guys a quick little preview about what we expected to hear from the Senate later on the day. Unfortunately, the Senate made us wait an entire weekend. In fact, I don't even know if it was just the entire weekend, because Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was expected to deliver the plans, the latest on the new proposal, the new stimulus package, on Thursday. That never happened. Obviously, nothing happened on Friday. So here we are Monday. We had to wait till after 4:30 to get this information. But here it is. I made a long list of things to cover. I just want to make sure that I don't leave anything out. So really quickly, regarding the stimulus check, regarding the stimulus package, regarding the federal unemployment benefits, we got a lot to cover. I want to start off with what's not here. So for those of you guys who are expecting to hear updates regarding the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, for those of you guys who are interested in the EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, hazard pay for essential workers, frontline workers. Personally, I think you guys deserve extra pay for the sacrifice and for the additional risks that you guys have taken on, but that information was not covered. And the other thing that wasn't covered that was very critical, in my opinion, that a lot of people were looking for was the rent moratorium extensions. Now, rent moratorium extensions expired this past weekend. We were expecting to hear positive things regarding rent moratoriums and unemployment insurance extensions. We at least got the extension for the unemployment insurance. However, the terms do change. I will go into that. I will go into exactly what the deal is with the stimulus checks. All right, so let's jump right into it. Stimulus checks are included in this package. I was very happy to see that we did at least get the $1,200 stimulus checks. Now, let's talk about dependents with regard to the stimulus checks. Last time in the CARES Act, we saw that the dependents were getting $500, or we were getting $500 per dependent for children under the age of 17. Now, one change that they made was they expanded the eligibility for those who would qualify as being dependents to include adults as well. So if you happen to have adult dependents, they would qualify for the $500 addition for adult dependents. So that was very cool. The House of Representatives were expecting a $3.5 trillion HEROES Act, and unfortunately, this bill is only $1 trillion. So what happens with that? We can expect that there's a ton of stuff that won't be included in this bill. You just can't cover all those different items with 1/3 of the budget, right? And apparently, the HEROES Act was not cool enough for the Senate. They had to rename it and call it the HEALS Act. And so what the HEALS Act is, that is the Health, Economic Assistance, Liability, and Schools Act. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a hard time keeping up with all these different acronyms, but I'm going to do my best. All right. So with this plan, they're including liability shield for businesses. Mitch McConnell was really big on that. One thing I did notice is that the Democrats were not necessarily supporting this additional protection for businesses against, liability claims related to the virus. And so I think that's going to be a little bit of a sticking point, maybe something that's going to ultimately get negotiated in the future in terms of when the House gets back to review these new details inside of this package. Now, eligibility for stimulus checks is very similar to the CARES Act. What we're looking at is income up to $75,000 per year for individuals will give you the maximum $1,200 stimulus check. However, above $75,000 in earnings per year for a single person will reduce the amount of your stimulus check. Once you get to incomes over $99,000 per year, you guys aren't getting anything. So that's where the cap is. I didn't see the exact details on the income requirements, income eligibility requirements for married couples, but I would assume it's going to be very similar to how it was in the CARES Act, which was it basically capped out at $198,000. You know, anything over $198,000 in income for a married couple, you weren't getting anything. But in order to get the maximum benefit from married couples, was right around $149,000 per year. So I'll have to do some digging and find out what the deal is for stimulus checks for married couples in terms of the income. But these are the details that I have so far. I just wanted to bring you guys the updates that I had as quickly as I could, and then, you know, later on I'll go back through it and try to find out the finer details of everything. And again, I want you guys to know that these are negotiations. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. You know, this is the Senate coming back to, you know, the negotiation table with the House of Representatives. You know, the House presented what they wanted. Here's the Senate coming back with what they want. They chopped the bill down. They removed some things. They reduced some of the budget allocations for some of the line items. So, you know, we're going to see this back and forth a little bit. Regarding the unemployment insurance, though. All right, so federal unemployment insurance benefits were previously paying $600 per week, and that was in addition to whatever your state was paying you in terms of unemployment insurance. So basically, if your state was paying you, say, you know, $275 per week for unemployment insurance, then, you know, the federal unemployment benefits will pay you an additional $600 on top of that. So you'd be right at $875 per week. And, you know, times 4 per month. You guys are normally, for most people, you're doing pretty good. Obviously, if you're on the higher end of the income spectrum, you know, you're still coming up short. But my point is the Senate party, the Senate Republicans were very, very adamant about not paying people more to stay home than they would earn from going back to work. So what they did was they reduced the federal unemployment insurance benefit down to a default payment of $200 per week. All right, so basically the way this new federal unemployment insurance is going to work is basically they're going to by default pay you $200 per week. However, that goes on top of your normal state unemployment insurance benefits. So hypothetically, let's say your state's giving you $275, the federal unemployment benefits giving you $200, then you're right at what, $475. Now, if at $475 you are still less than 70% of your pre-pandemic income, then you could make the argument and go back to them and say, hey, you know, hey, I'm still below 70% of my pre-pandemic income. What can you guys do to give me a little bit more of the federal unemployment insurance, and then they'll look to bump you up. So I'm waiting to see more details on that. That's a little bit, you know, there's a lot of details I'm pretty sure are not out and available to us yet, but that's what we do have on that. $100 billion will be allocated to schools to assist them with reopening. I do know how adamant that, you know, President Trump was in terms of getting these schools to be able to reopen. In fact, you know, he even threatened to reduce or remove the funding that was provided to schools, federal funding that was provided to schools if they did not reopen. So they're trying to make that happen. At least they're giving money to that cause to kind of help them out financially in terms of being able to reopen the schools safely. That is going to be another sticking point, if you ask me, because we do know that the Democrats in the House were pushing for closer to $1 trillion for schools. So if we're only getting $100 billion, we're about 90% off the mark. $2 billion has been allocated to emergency funds for states for the purpose of food stamp programs. So, you know, that will help people out just a little bit. I mean, if you think about it, $2 billion in food stamps to go across, you know, the entire country is really not a lot of money. So I don't know how helpful that's going to be, but I guess some is better than none. And that about wraps it up, guys. I mean, I'm going to dig more into the details on the entire package. We already know that more and more details are going to come out as the days progress, but I did want to give you guys the latest update as soon as it became available to me. A lot of you guys were asking about, you know, how often do I work out and stuff like that. I know it's off topic, but I see it so many times in the comments. I just want to let you guys know, I'm a big fan of working out. I just work out every single day just because it's fun to me. If you guys are into fitness or whatever, you can check out my other channel. I'll drop a link down below. The name of that channel is also Ron Yates. But anyway, I hope this update was valuable to you guys. If you got any value out of this video, do me a favor, smash the like button. And of course, this is a financial channel. So, we cover investing, all things investing, personal finance, developing multiple streams of income. So if you guys have any questions related to that, drop me a question in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Come. All right. KMDK.
School. It's how America's TikTok stars spend their mornings. As the new school year approaches, COVID-19 has made things more complicated than your math teacher's comb over. Because the big question is, even if the virus isn't a major threat to children, can they become adorable super spreaders who infect teachers, staff, and their families back home? Well, now, we might be getting some answers.
As many school systems weigh their options and evaluate data, a large and systematic new study at
School is how America's TikTok stars spend their mornings. As the new school year approaches, COVID-19 has made things more complicated than your math teacher's comb over. Because the big question is, even if the virus isn't a major threat to children, can they become adorable super spreaders who infect teachers, staff, and their families back home? Well, now, we might be getting some answers.
As many school systems weigh their options and evaluate data, a large and systematic new study out of South Korea suggests kids younger than 10 spread the disease less, about half as much as adults. But children above the age of 10 can spread the virus at the same rate as adults.
Older kids, those teenagers, get infected more frequently than younger kids. And that it's something we do have to be mindful of as we bring kids back to school.
Oh man, this is really not good. Scientists now say teenagers can spread the virus just as easily as adults. And some parents are going to try to brag about this. Little Timmy is only 13, but apparently he spreads COVID at a college level. And I don't think any of this should be surprising to anyone. I'm not a scientist, but of course teenagers can spread coronavirus everywhere. Just look at how well they spread rumors. But the last time, guys, I did not pee my pants in math class, okay? I peed them in English in first period. So look, this isn't great news. And the only silver lining is that it might at least help stop bullying. I'd shove you in a locker right now, but my nana has a compromised immune system. So clearly, if kids go back to school, there's a good chance the virus is going to spread even more. Which means Americans have two choices. Immediately devote massive resources to helping schools implement safety regimes so that kids can be protected, tested, and monitored. Or two, don't do that.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson is pushing for kids in his state to go back to school even if they get sick.
These kids have got to get back to school. They're at the lowest risk possible. And if they do get COVID-19, which they will, and they will when they go to school, they're not going to the hospitals. They're not going to have to sit in doctor's offices. They're going to go home, and they're going to get over it.
Okay, now here's the thing. Governor Parson is not wrong, right? Kids are the least susceptible to COVID-19. And if they do get sick, they usually don't need to go to the hospital. They can stay home. What he seems to be forgetting is that unless all these kids live in Neverland, they go home to adults, which is not good. Because you see, coronavirus is like baby shark. It can't hurt kids, but it will destroy adults' lives. So basically, if you don't get corona under control, the schools can turn into an Amazon fulfillment center for coronavirus. It starts in a centralized location, and within a couple of days, it's personally delivered to everyone's house, and maybe one day with Prime. The only way this isn't going to get adults infected is if parents and their kids have no contact. I mean, no communication, no affection whatsoever, no touching. Basically, Trump's relationship with Eric. And parents aren't the only ones in danger here. Unsurprisingly, teachers all across America are not enthused at the idea of having to put their lives at risk so that little Aiden can build a baking soda volcano. In fact, in a historic move, Florida's largest teachers union is now suing Florida's governor for ordering schools to fully open in a few weeks. And look, until these issues are resolved, most parents in America are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because what do? Do you keep your kids at home, teach them yourself, and eventually blow your brains out? Or do you take the risk, send them to school, and gamble with your family's health? Well, many rich families have decided they're going with option C.
Parents worried about sending their kids back to school are coming together to create smaller so-called pandemic pods.
Pandemic pods, a 2020 version of the one-room schoolhouse. The small groups of students are getting together and paying for a private teacher. The pods are seen as a way to mitigate risks and give kids a chance to socialize and learn together during in-person teaching. The cost for private instructors can run anywhere between $25 and $80 per hour, adding to concerns that the coronavirus pandemic is exacerbating the inequities in the education system.
Yes, rich people are getting private instructors because, one, they can't afford it, and two, because they aren't allowed to just bribe colleges anymore. And here we have yet another way the education gap in America is going to become even wider. So after this pandemic, you're going to have kids who are supposed to be at a 5th grade reading level only reading at a 2nd or 3rd grade level. And if this generation comes out of school not being able to read, I mean, what jobs are going to be available to them? I mean, president for sure, but what else? So that's where America is right now. At a time when students need help more than ever, the government is going from no child left behind to, yo, you kids are on your own. When the coronavirus pandemic hits, scientists said it could be a year to 18 months before we got a vaccine. But just like high school seniors on prom nights, things are moving faster than expected.
Encouraging news as several companies rush to develop a vaccine against the coronavirus. There are promising results in early trials of at least 3 potential vaccines. One is being developed by the University of Oxford and AstraZeneca. Results suggest that vaccine is safe and has produced an immune response in patients. Another vaccine, Back2slicing Biologics, was shown to produce antibodies a month after vaccination. Meanwhile, promising results from Pfizer and BioNTech on another vaccine. The results are similar to some of the 23 other vaccines that are already on human trials.
Oh man, this is exciting. Not 1, not 2, but 3 vaccines? And isn't this the story of life? One moment you have too little, and the next moment you're overwhelmed with options. I mean, 3 vaccines? Which one do I choose? I mean, do I want the Chinese one? And then there's the Oxford one. You know, this is so hard. I'll be like, can I get a scoop of each? Yeah, just give me a scoop of each. Part of me also likes the fact that these vaccines aren't being made in America. Because let's be honest, America is the one country where people are going to let politics stop them from getting the vaccine. I don't want that Trump vaccine. I'm resisting. A Biden vaccine is a liberal trap. You think it's a coincidence that coronavirus has the letters A, O, and C in it? Now, as hopeful as this is, please remember that there are a lot of steps between now and the full vaccine. I mean, they need to finish the trials, they need to ramp up the vaccine production, plus they need to produce over 1 billion lollipops. I don't care if it is the COVID vaccine. If you're giving me a shot, you best believe I'm leaving there with a lollipop. And the US desperately needs this vaccine sooner than later, because coronavirus is still hitting America hard, including in ways no one would have thought of.
Well, first it was toilet paper and hand sanitizer, but now the coronavirus pandemic is causing Americans to see a shortage of coins. The Federal Reserve is rationing the distribution of coins to banks. Those banks, in turn, are supplying fewer coins to businesses. Some retail stores are even telling customers to use exact change or pay by credit or debit card.
The bank in Wisconsin is now paying people to bring in their spare change to help local businesses. The Community State Bank has launched a coin buyback program. People who turn in $100 worth of change will get a $5 bonus. The bank says hundreds of people have already dropped off their spare change. Some have even bought in coins without asking for anything back.
Yes, there are so few coins right now that banks are paying people to bring in their loose change. And right now, I bet people all over the country are in line at those gift shops with flattened pennies standing around like, yo, you better throw that machine in reverse. I'm trying to get paid. And here's what I want to know. When are all the magicians when we actually need them? Because now is a good time to pull a quarter from behind my ear. Not at my grandfather's funeral when you were trying to cheer me up. I know you killed him. Also, wouldn't it be amazing if this becomes the next chapter of massive wealth generation in America? You know, like the oil boom gave birth to the Rockefeller dynasty. The dot-com boom made fortunes for people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. And now you'll have the coin shortage of 2020, making your grandmother the richest person in the world because she insisted on keeping those jars full of pennies. Yeah, now she's going to be the one surfing in Hawaii with too much sunblock on her face. You made it, Nana! President Trump, the rectangular machine. In the 47 years that he's been president, we've gotten to know the man quite a bit. We know that he doesn't fear the sun. We know that he likes to go vroom vroom in a big cool truck. And we know that the kids love him. One other big thing we've learned about him is how Trump handles a crisis. Because whenever Trump is dealing with a problem, he's got a certain set of moves that he always tries. Sort of like a video game character, you know? First he pretends the problem doesn't exist. Then he pretends he's already solved the problem. And if that doesn't work, he blames the media and the Democrats for the problem he probably created. Now, unfortunately, none of those moves have worked for that. No matter what he tries, it just keeps on spreading. So yesterday, Trump had no choice but to pull out his superpower moves, changing.
A remarkable change of tune for President Trump today. The about face coming during a late afternoon news conference.
The president changed his tone today after months of insisting that COVID-19 was in retreat. He said it will get worse before it gets better.
After downplaying the virus for weeks, the president came before cameras with a blunt assessment.
It will probably, unfortunately, get worse before it gets better. Something I don't like saying about things, but that's the way it is. I have no problem with the masks. I view it this way. Anything that potentially can help, and that certainly can potentially help, is a good thing. I have no problem. I carry it. I wear it.
Oh no. Looks like someone finally got his COVID test back. Positive and negative sales. But yes, President Trump is finally saying that masks work and that coronavirus could get even worse. So basically, Trump has turned into that one friend of yours in the group chat who insists on posting memes that were hot months ago. Yo, have you guys seen Baby Yoda? Now, I will say something that I myself didn't expect. It is actually a little scary to hear Trump talk like this. Because like when a scientist says it, it's because those are the facts. When Trump says it, it's because reality is so awful that it somehow cuts through the thousands of layers of paranoid delusion. Like you know shit is bad when even Trump breaks character. You know? This would be like if Barney the dinosaur took off his head like, okay kids, we're it's not looking good.
Are we gonna sing a song, Barney?
No, guys, we really, it's over.
I don't think you're allowed to say the F word, Barney.
Now, there are many reasons that Trump may have suddenly shifted his tone last month. Alright? I mean, maybe it's because he's struggling bigly in the polls against Joe Biden. Or maybe it's because he has a new campaign manager. Or maybe it's just because he got his ass handed to him in an interview on Fox News. I mean, it's one thing to get embarrassed by the liberal media. He's used to that. But when Fox News is calling you out on your BS, that's gonna hurt, man. Because now you're getting owned in front of all your friends. It's like getting a wedgie at your own birthday party. Whatever the reason was, though, it should be obvious to anyone with a memory better than a goldfish that this change of tone isn't actually a sincere change of heart. Because, let's just say, we've all been here before.
President Trump was completely different in his tone and in the way that he was approaching the coronavirus.
A dramatic shift in tone from President Trump yesterday.
President Trump changing his tone.
A real change of tone there, to say the least, from the president. A really sobering sense from the president.
And President Trump just moments ago with a somber tone.
But again, the overall tone a lot more somber, especially coming from President Trump.
George, the president did strike a very somber tone in his latest briefing.
Robin, he was as grim as he's been through this entire crisis.
Yeah. We've seen this trick before, people. Trump decides to pretend he's taking coronavirus seriously again, and then 2 days later, he's doing what? He's tweeting that it's all a hoax, and we should just eat our cereal with bleach. So if the past is any indication, Trump's somber new tone is as real as his skin tone. Because deep down, no matter how much he wants to hide it, he's still Trump. Which is why even at a press conference where he's trying to change things up, he couldn't help but do this.
The one moment the president veered off message when he was asked about Ghislaine Maxwell, accused of enabling Jeffrey Epstein's exploitation of minors.
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is.
Okay. So, just to recap. Colin Kaepernick, son of a bitch, accused child sex trafficker. I wish her well. This is the one time when nobody would have been upset if Trump had used one of his trademark insults. Low IQ individual, horse face, hater and loser, psycho, lock her up, anything. Instead, this is the time that Trump chooses to suddenly become a feminist. She broke the glass ceiling of sex trafficking. You gotta respect that. But look, aside from that one time when he wished an alleged sex trafficker well, he did manage to rein it in for one press conference. And I guess that's the lesson here. As long as Trump sticks to the script, doesn't tell us what he thinks, and doesn't act on any of his own impulses, I mean, then he makes a pretty dope president. But if he's allowed to actually do what he wants, well then America, I wish you well. It's no secret that America is struggling with the coronavirus. And part of the reason is that hardly anyone alive has ever seen a pandemic like this before. In fact, to find the closest ones, you have to go back over 100 years.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says this current pandemic may match the horror of 1918's flu epidemic.
This is a pandemic of historic proportions. I think we can't deny that fact. It's something that I think when history looks back on it, it'll be comparable to what we saw in 1918.
Yes. To find something similar to corona, you have to go back to 1918. That's way back. Back before they even invented smiling. Would you like to try smiling? This is a picture. I know, do something crazy. Yeah, you're right, go there. But what has America learned since the 1918 Spanish flu? Well, it turns out, not a lot. As we'll see in another installment of If You Don't Know, Now You Know. The Spanish flu of 1918 had a lot in common with the coronavirus in 2020. It infected millions around the globe, it spread easily through the air through coughs and sneezes, and through most of it, we were wiping our butts with old newspapers. But the real similarity between these two pandemics is in how American society responded. For example, in both eras, the pandemic spread even further thanks to the mismanagement of the federal government.
Since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, Mr. Trump has downplayed the severity of the problem as cases surge around the country.
Woodrow Wilson, during World War I, tried to minimize the Spanish flu epidemic.
Woodrow Wilson pretended it wasn't happening, did not let people know how to protect themselves.
The president's effectively discarding the existing advice from his government, his own public health experts.
Woodrow Wilson encouraged public events. He told mayors and governors to have military parades.
Despite public warnings against mass gatherings, President Trump is encouraging crowds to gather for fireworks displays.
National public health leaders saying such things as this is ordinary unwanted holiday.
He was the same as the
The Surgeon General said if proper precautions are taken, you have no cause for alarm.
There's no reason to panic. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Trump is making all the same mistakes. Woodrow Wilson said we wanted to be more presidential. Sometimes it seems like Trump is a Frankenstein, but made up of only the worst parts of all previous presidents. You know, he's got the pandemic response of Woodrow Wilson, the racism of Andrew Jackson, the horniness of Bill Clinton, the vocabulary of George W. Bush, and it's all stuffed into cat. Now, in both 1918 and today, the lack of leadership creates a vacuum that allows misinformation and dangerous cures to be spread as fast as the virus itself.
As the coronavirus continues to spread worldwide, the misinformation is spreading too.
Donald Trump is pushing the debunk conspiracy that coronavirus was man-made in a lab in Wuhan, China.
The pandemic spread benefited from misinformation.
People began blaming the journalists. They were the
The president offers snake oil treatments that have the potential to do more harm than good. The president suggested Americans could inject themselves with disinfectants to ward off COVID-19.
The disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute.
Snake oil salesman had a field day. Vicks VapoRub also advertised itself as a remedy for the flu, claiming to stimulate the mucous membrane to throw off the germs.
There were plenty of ads touting medicines, tablets, and the use of disinfectants. People back in the day,
they thought you could spread cold through aspirin. I mean, everyone knows that diseases are spread through 5G. Hello, that's why you turn on airplane mode. I'll be honest, I actually admire conspiracy theorists back then. Because they didn't have YouTube to spread their ideas, which means to get people to believe this stuff, they had to go door to door.
Today, ma'am, Rockefellers are inventing a flu vaccine that will record your thoughts. To hear more, please like and subscribe. I'll return here again in a few days. If you like what I have to say, well, I recommend my friends tell you why the Earth is really flat.
By the way, I'm willing to bet money that Vicks conspiracy was actually started by an African dad. They try and fix everything with Vicks. Daddy, I'm sad. Can I get a hug? You both need a hug from me. You know what you need? You need to put some Vicks on your chest, huh? It will warm up your heart, okay? Now go away. And here's the thing. What we saw in 1918, and we're seeing again today, is that the lack of trust in leadership doesn't just cause the wrong statement to spread. It also makes it much harder for the right statement to spread.
Cities recommended face masks, but many residents didn't take that suggestion seriously.
Despite many people still refuse to wear masks.
The mask mandate followed. Not everyone complied.
Masks are meant to be here. Not everyone is able.
You guys are violating federal law! One woman declared the ordinance, quote, absolutely unconstitutional. They say that it interferes with their personal liberty, and it's unconstitutional.
The anti-mask sentiment actually coalesced into something organized. Thousands protested mandatory masking measures.
Are you going to allow the government to tell you you have to wear a mask?
You know, it's bad enough that people today don't want to wear masks.
All I saw was my dead grandchildren. Their faces after being cut down, and you were protecting them.
You tried to kill me? Have you lost your mind?
I have lost everything.
No, you've sacrificed everything for revenge.
And what do you feel when you think of fusils?
I should speak to him first. Not yet. Let me talk first of all. When I want to remember to do it. Only needs his tongue to talk. Please, don't kill me. You offered this advice in exchange for information about the massacre. She killed herself. Lady...
Liar!
Wait, who's Lady Who?
My sister. She was massacred with the rest of my family.
She visited me 2 nights ago. Wore a crimson kimono with a golden sash. She smiles.
No.
Never told her anything about you. I swear. Please.
Sister. She murdered our children.
Why would she want to destroy us?
I'm going to find her. We do not go married.
False.